Tell me about how you met your wife.
When I rang her on Monday morning, she went, "What one was you?" And I was like, "Oh, great." There was this pub that was closed down called the Surrey Arms. He was shot at, and they basically closed the whole pub down.
Wait, this is your dad?
Yeah. And it took 16 years to meet her again through ancestry and all this kind of thing, and I went to college with her. It was a good job I didn't shag her in college. Yeah. And I tell you what, I've soundproofed my office, and it didn't help, because it doesn't quite help the light, swing.
Oh, no way!
Yeah, I never want sex. I never think about it, ever.
Welcome to Under the Sheets with me, Tatiana Ashbourne, and all my friends. Laugh about it. Give it to me, baby. Learn about it. Love it or hate it. Let's do it. Under the Sheets with Tatiana Ashbourne and friends. Welcome to Under the Sheets with Tatiana Ashbourne and friends, brought to you by Dirty Talk. I'm Tatiana Ashbourne, and this is my friend. This is Jason, everybody. Woo! Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, pleasure.
It's great to get you in my bed. I've seen you do multiple interviews, but I'm pleased to see never in a bed.
Never in a bed?
And never about sex and relatitions.
Never about that either, no. No, yeah. This is a first for me.
Yeah, enjoy sex and relationships?
Yeah. It's a good job, isn't it?
Yeah. So really quickly, let's go back to the beginning. So tell me a bit about your upbringing.
My upbringing? Yeah, that probably has a lot to do with how I feel about sex, because I grew up just single parent. My dad was like one of these kind of cardboard gangsters. So he was knocking up women all over the place, and It was just me and my mum. And my mum, to make ends meet, obviously was trying to do various different jobs. And my babysitter was a couple, the Piles. And Joey Pyle just happened to be like one of the most renowned gangsters as well.
Oh my goodness.
He was the best man for Ronnie Cray's wedding. So they were like,
no way.
Yeah. So my upbringing was no father figure and a lot of perceived lack of security. I developed a lot of anxiety around just not feeling secure, and bailiffs knocking on the door, no electricity, that kind of thing. So that was kind of how I came into the world, and that was the earliest memories that I have.
Yeah.
But then that kind of, as I grew up, I took that into my childhood, and I was always happy in my own. I mean, the benefits was I was happy in my own skin. I was happy in my own company. I was one of these kids that used to sit in their room and like take the VCR player apart and just inquisitive mind kind of thing. And then as I went into the workforce, it was very much like I was like really determined to build security. So I was driven to make a life for myself.
And because your dad was the way he was, and when you say that he was with lots of different women, did it freak you out about who you would become when it comes to girls? Yeah,
I think what they say that your character's developed by like when you're 7, right? So, and you value most what you perceive to have a void most of when you was 0 to 7. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was security, and when I had kids young, I had kids when I found out I was going to have a baby when I was 22.
Wow.
And as soon as I found out, all those horrible feelings of like, I'm not ready, I don't want that for him or, for my baby. And all I wanted was security for my kid. So before that news even, I was very much like, I put sex to the last thing on my mind, because I was very much trying to build a secure, stable future. And, I don't know if you're familiar with like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's like physiological needs, right? It's like, food, shelter, water, sex, those kind of animalistic things at the bottom. And then as you ascend that, it's security and, abundance. And for me, it was like, I just want the security. So I kind of just, every time I was like angry, or every time I felt those kind of animalistic needs of desire, sex, or road rage, I would try and channel that into like making something more secure. It's really, really strange. But this was going through my head when I was a kid. It was like, I need to not think about this level of stuff, but I need to think about this level of stuff.
And so is this after you then you found out that you were having a child?
Yeah, it was all the time. Like I've always been, sex has been very like low on my priorities. Yeah.
And so I've got this book that you said that you've read, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill,
right.
And he's got a lot of fascinating things about the idea of sex. Yeah. One being, I've got here, so there was a study of over 25,000 people that said that found out that who they succeeded outstandingly after the age of 40. Yeah. And the major reason why the majority of people who succeed do not begin to do so before the age of 40 to 50 is their tendency to dissipate their energies through overindulgence in physical expression of the emotion of sex.
Right.
Explain.
Yeah, so...
Because that was a lot.
Basically, it's this idea. So he talks about in the book, that was the first book that I read when I was, I was about 16, I think, when I read that. And he talks about sexual transmutation, which is the idea of putting off sexual desires for a bigger cause. So driving that energy towards something that's more longer term. Okay. And I read that after I was feeling the feelings that I was feeling. Yeah. And you know, it struck a chord. And I was like, wow. But then, you know, it caused a lot of problems because I read that book, then I would deliberately practice it. Yeah. To build my empire, build my business, you know, build a secure upbringing for my child to the point where I couldn't switch it off. And then it was like, I never want sex. You know, I never think about it, ever.
Wow.
Yeah, and that caused a problem with because my wife, you know, I believe that we meet people who balance you out. Yeah. So my wife is like, but bearing in mind, my mum was a prude. Like I couldn't ever talk to her about sex. Yeah. You know, it's like a dirty thing. And so I had that, and I had the lack of security and me trying to drive and not think about sex and not think about all these things. So I was like, I was destined to be fucked when it comes to like, emotional retard, absolute emotional retard. Yeah. So when I met my wife, she's empathetic, compassionate. She's very open with our kids about sex, and to the point where I cringe, and I'm cringing watching this because it's not in my fibre. Yeah. But my wife balanced that out, and now I'm a lot more empathetic. I'm a lot more I can talk to sex. I choose not to, but I can. I'm much more open now. Yeah. But the thing is, she was very loving and affectionate, and she wanted that, and I wasn't always able to provide that.
But do you think it's a good thing that you've never seen sex as a need?
Yes and no. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've never been one of these guys that goes and sleeps around anyway. Okay. I've had like a handful of sexual partners. Yeah. And that's because I think you have to be in love. You have to love the person, have feelings for them. Yeah. I personally can't just have sex with someone. Yeah. Like there's no way it'd work. Yeah. No, I wouldn't be able to get it up.
But so let's go and talk about your investing and your trading, and with the idea of a relationship. You love investing and you check statistics, research and data to see whether it's a good investment. Do you think the same thing in a relationship?
I think this will probably strike.
So do you have to check all these things?
I think any business or any relationship with anything is just a transactional relationship, and I think when we get with someone, we're basically just asking, what's in it for me? You know, how is this going to serve me, and is it beneficial to what I want in my life? And there's a lot of people that don't believe or want to believe that that's true, which is why they end up thinking, oh, my partner's changed, you know, he's an arsehole or she's an arsehole. But actually, it's because they're not giving you what you wanted, and it's okay to move on after that point. You know, we're all trying to figure out what's best for us, and I think that's the same with investing. It's like, what is this going to give me what I need right now or in the long term, and what's the benefits and drawbacks to making it now over delaying it, and same with relationships. Yeah,
and you've said before how if you could go back, you would decide not to get married.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is that because...
It's not. It's just because I just did it because that's what people did. But thinking about it, you know, it it's a lot of money to get married, and I would have probably put that into something that's more. And my wife agrees.
Yeah.
My wife agrees. It's just one of those things, I think, where you just go along with the social idealisms, and you buy into what is right. But I'm not religious. I'm not. So for me, it was just a financial thing, really. I just wouldn't bother.
Yeah, no doubt. And is that what you say to your children now?
Yeah, I try not to like dictate anything to my kids. I want them to make up their own mind and live a life that they want. But for me, I would always try and educate them on how to basically take information from other people and then, make your own assumptions of what's right based on what you want in life. I like when I learnt to drive, right? My dad, he was like, I said to my dad, what shall I learn in, an automatic or a manual? And he was like, always a manual. You'll be able to learn both cars and all the rest of it, right? And that was the right thing for him. And I was like, okay. So I learnt in a manual. It took me longer to learn, cost me more money in lessons, and now I've driven an automatic since I passed.
Yeah.
And now all cars are going automatic. So it's like, well, that was stupid. It was just because I listened to what his dad had told him, probably, right? So
well, it's a bit like women with vibrators, right?
Right.
They've all got their own.
Yeah, exactly. You really do bring everything back to sex, don't you?
Of course, that's why we're here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so yeah, don't take it like So just do what's
now
right
you're
for
stuck. You don't know how to
do what's right for you. That's what I would say.
But why do you think it is that you have such a problem with discussing sex, or like that you used to have a big problem, and now why is it that you get uncomfortable?
Yeah, it's just never been something that I've been openly discuss. I don't have any shame around it or anything like that, and I love it. But it's not. It's just never been something that I've seen as a. Maybe it's the people in my life and people that I knew growing up. They've always talked about it or spoken about sex when it's been a bad situation, or it's some kind of abusive way that they're talking about it. I banged this girl, and don't fucking know where she lives, and I don't know if I've got kids. And I've always seen that as a really negative thing, because I didn't want anyone to treat their kids that way, right? Because dad left, all this kind of thing. You start saying, I might have kids, not that I know of, I don't like that. Because it's in me to like, that is a bad thing. Like that, and I can't change that.
No, definitely.
But so I just kind of choose to shy away from the subjects. It's always been more of an emotional connection for me, not a physical.
Yeah. And so having the discussion with your wife to say, look, I've read this book. Did you have the discussion to say, I don't think I should be having sex until my business has succeeded a certain...
No, there was a time... So I read that when I was about 16. I met my wife when I was about 20.
God, you were a bright 16-year-old.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
So
I struggled with that. I even struggled saying it.
That book was written I think that book was written in the 30s. But
wow.
I read it when I was 16. I met my wife when I was 20, and I didn't deliberately practice what was in that book until I started my first business.
Well, clearly, if you had a child.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But when, for some reason, when I was like starting my business, I got into self-development a bit more heavily, and I read that again, and it was like, right, I need to not, if I have sexual desires, I need to like see if I can channel that energy, and it became a bit forced, and then it caused a problem, because then she was like, you're working on this all the time, you never any time for me, kind of thing, and I don't feel like you want me and all this, right? And I was like, look, I fucking read this book, and, that's the last thing she wanted to hear. She's like, what is this tosser reading this book? It just caused some challenges, but I then focused on the opposite. It was like, right, I need to balance this out a little bit. I need to find more time and connection, which is it was just difficult because I was starting a business. All my time was like diverted to that, but I was obsessed because I just didn't want to have everything taken away and have a lack of security for my son and all this kind of stuff. It was really like, it was deep. It isn't just I wanted to start a business because it would be a fun and I could put entrepreneur in my Instagram bio. It was like my life's depending on it, my kids' life. I genuinely believe that. And that was like, you don't think about sex at that point. It's just like, I've got to live. I've got to...
And do you believe that your children have put colour into your life? Do you think that they've made you a better person?
Yeah. I think, I think our whole family is balanced. There's one that's, very compassionate, one that's very academic, one that's very, and I think that we evolved that way anyway to stand the longest chance of survival. But it's a great balance, and my kids have pulled things out of me that I've seen as flaws in myself and been able to talk about them. My wife does the same, and then at the same time, if it was down to my wife running the money, we'd be fucking broke. We'd be homeless. So I serve that part of it.
All the time.
Yeah. We just have sex. We'd just be like dossers in a squatter's house, like having sex.
Yeah. And have you ever had the birds and the bees talk with your sons?
So my wife obviously is the best person for that because she's very open with them about it, and she openly, and I love that she is, because I know that I can't. I can't have that conversation. I really, love her and appreciate her for being able to be that open with them, and I wish that I had that, with my mum. Yeah. But she's definitely made me a lot better. I'm more there'd be a time where I just couldn't sit and listen. Yeah. But now I'm very open, and I always tell my boys, if there's anything, you just come and talk to me.
Your wife.
Yeah.
Your mum.
Go and tell your mum, and then if she can't answer it, tell me.
Yeah.
But my son's at it already. He's had a couple of girlfriends, and I tell you what, I've soundproofed my office, and it didn't help. Because it doesn't quite help the light. Swing.
Oh, no way!
Yeah. So,
oh, God.
Unfortunately, although there's no noise anymore, there's still
some
signs.
Just a ghost.
Yeah, so I like it more when he doesn't have a girlfriend.
Do you think it's ever happened the other way round? Do you think he's seen some lights move?
Well, I've told him and warned him before, to which his answer was, well, I know you and Mum do it in your office. So.
Yeah, the soundproofing. That's why it's up.
Yeah, right, yeah. So, I'm sure he knows, but again, he's more like his mum. So they're much more open to sex and things like that. My youngest son probably isn't. He's more like me. Yeah. But they're still much more open than I ever was about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And so tell me about how you met your wife.
I met my wife in a club, like bar in South London, and just went up to her, and she was wearing some angel wings, and I said, "Can I have your number?" And she gave me a number, and then when I rang her on Monday morning, I said, "Oh, you gave me your number on Friday," and she went, "What one was you?" And I was like, "Oh, great, picked a winner here."
No way.
Yeah, but then we met up, and that was it. It's literally been with her since 23 years or something.
Wow,
so a long time.
Wow, yeah. And you always knew she was the one, or?
Yeah. Do you know what?
Do you believe in the one?
I do believe in the one, but I do believe it takes appreciation for what each person brings to the party. That's when you're happy. It's not like continuous work, really, because everyone's growing and developing and evolving, and it's keeping the rate of that development matched, if you like, so that there's no massive discrepancy between that, and then you think, oh, they're not really, they're not serving me anymore, they're not supporting me anymore. Yeah, exactly that.
And so arguments are healthy or not?
Yeah, I think arguments are there to pull you back down to earth. Like I see a lot of couples where they get into it and they're like, it's toxic relationship, and every time I try and do this, they're negative about it. But a lot of the time, you're missing what they're trying to do. They're trying to make sure that you're balanced out and you're not being too cocky, right? And the same goes the other way. If I have this idea and I'm all over the place, I'm going to do this, it's going to be the best thing, and my wife says, what about last time you tried that? Have you thought about that? It sort of didn't work out then. There's a lot of people that just be, oh, fuck you, they've got a negative, toxic wife, I'm moving on, getting something better, something hotter or whatever. Actually, if you don't see what they're doing and trying to ground you, you have an appreciation for that grounding. That's what makes a great relationship. Definitely. Just going, wow, I didn't actually catch that, And the same in the other way. If you're like depressed and you go, oh, I don't feel like living today, everything's going wrong, and they're like trying to perk you up, that's great. They're trying to pull you back to who you really are. And I think it's just seeing that, which I think makes a great relationship.
Do you think it's the same in friendships?
Yeah, I think, again, friends around you because they're serving you in some way.
Yeah.
And then you lose the ones that aren't serving you anymore, and you get new friends that are serving you wherever you're at. But the difference with friends is you don't necessarily have the companionship that you have with your wife or your husband. So you're not building a life, building kids, building legacy with them. So your friends are much easier to just go, get out of the way, come back later when you figured out what I was trying to tell you kind of thing. No. And if you don't, I don't really care. I've always been quite ruthless with friend groups. Yeah. I think it holds you back to cling on to a friend group to say, oh yeah, but we've always been friends. But you get one life, you've got to live what you want to do, right?
No, definitely. Completely agree. And did you grow up with siblings?
An interesting story. So my mum met my stepdad when I was 5 or 6, and he was my stepdad, and he formed a father figure for me until I was 18, 19, and left house. Yeah. And with that, I had a half brother and half sister with them, grew up with them, see them as my brother and sister. But my real dad, the bad news, he was knocking up people all over the place, right? So when I was 13, I got a bit inquisitive about who he was, and I was curious to meet him. So we went and met him, and he had 2 boys with him who were my half brothers. Didn't really get on with them. Didn't really get on with him. He was a bit of a bellend. And then I didn't see him, and then we found out there was this pub that was closed down called the Surrey Arms. He was shot at, and they basically closed the whole pub down.
Wait, this is your dad?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he was shot. He was, first of all, they came into the pub and they stabbed him and sprayed him in the eyes with ammonia, and then he went into hospital. And then the next week he came back this is how it was in the 90s. Went back with a baseball bat, sat on the wall outside the pub. And then they came past in a car with a sawn-off shotgun, shot him off the wall, shot him in the face, and then he went in hospital, and then he went into secret hiding. He's still alive. He survived all this. He's big, 7-foot guy, massive guy, 25 stone, and now he's he lives in secret location down in the south. So he's bad news. Didn't want any of that around my kids.
God, that took sit up more. Wow. Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so again, that might have played a part in why don't keep having kids with everyone. Don't be careful, who you stick your dick into. But anyway, this story.
I love how that's the lesson you've learned from your
dad. That was it. That's about the only lesson he gave me, to be honest. But we was at college, right? So I joined college. I was studying to be an electrician, electrical engineer, and there's this girl really took a liking to her, and she had a friend, and they were always together, and I sort of tried to get talking to them all the time. And on my 18th birthday, down the road there's a tattoo place and a piercing place, and her friend had a piercing, and I thought, this is my way in to go and talk to that group. So went to her, I said, I love this, where'd you get this from? And she went, I had it down the road. So I went and had mine done.
No way.
Right, and anyway, years later, right, I'm on Ancestry.com. Yeah. So I try and figure out who my family tree was, figure out who the fuck I was, because I didn't have a clue. And got down to this name, Zoe Alton. Messaged on Facebook, that was it. I think I might be your brother. Anyway, we met up, and we went in this pub. As soon as she come in, it was this feeling that someone actually understood me. It was so strange. It was we were talking straight away. The conversation was flowing. It was like she understood what I was feeling. It was really weird. Anyway, I was talking about what she did. Oh yeah, did childcare at Carshalton College. I went Carshalton College. And I know she's my age because we're 6 months apart, because she was not
Okay.
And I said, if you did childcare, you must have known my girlfriend, Catherine. And she was like, yeah, Catherine's my best mate. And I was like, I looked at her eye and she had this scar. No. And I was like, no way. And this is bear in mind, this is 15 years on, 16 years on. I said, you didn't have an eyebrow thing? And she was like, yeah. And I said, you're the girl that I asked on my 18th to go to the thing. So I'd met her all those years ago.
Wow.
And it took 16 years to meet her again through ancestry and all this kind of thing. And I went to college with her. It was a good job I didn't shag her in college.
I was going to say, that'd be a different story. I was a bit worried about where that was going. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Do you want sex? No, I don't like sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So crazy story. But yeah, I do have siblings. It's a short answer.
Yeah. But oh my goodness, that's unbelievable. And so and since then meeting all these other people that are your siblings, or like growing up with these people, have you felt lost until you found this, or maybe found your wife? Or is it something that you've always known who you were and you've made this from your stepdad and your mum? Or is it something that you always felt there's something that's not quite right?
Yeah. There's always I've never really felt comfortable, in
your own skin.
Just like getting. I'm just a private person. I'd say that. I don't have the toilet door open when I'm in the toilet or in the shower. I like my privacy, and I think my wife is the opposite.
Right. Okay.
She's got the toilet door open and she's like, shower. I'm like, what?
No wonder why you didn't want to have sex.
But I'm just the opposite of that. I'm a very private, person, and I love that. I've just grown to love who I am, I suppose. And
that's great. Yeah.
But
you're looking great, one thing, but also you've done a lot to get like this. You're in the gym how often? A lot?
Yeah, I'm in the gym a lot. But again, that came I was a fat kid. So I think, when you think that you was a fat kid and you craved attention kind of thing, it drives you. And I've definitely got fat kid mentality. I go to the gym not because I want it. It's just like, it is who I am. It's so I hold so much of it to my self-worth. That's the thing.
So you still feel very body conscious even now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And if I was to sit here like naked, I would definitely not. I know there's an audience, and that's a really good thing. But some people could do that, right?
Yeah.
I definitely couldn't do that.
Yeah. And what do you think is the way, and also for other people that are thinking the same, what's advice that you would give, or how do you overcome it? Is it by going to the gym every day?
I think it's just learning to love your own, what you see as your own flaws. I think it's a bit like, comments on social media or YouTube and things. When people say things and it hurts you, again, it's not like toxic people, get rid of haters and all this. I think those people are there to serve you more than people that puff you up all the time and keep you fat and complacent.
I agree, yeah.
So put it this way, it only hurts when you don't love it about yourself.
Yeah.
If I was skinny and someone said, look at that fat bastard, I'll just laugh it off. But if I was putting on a bit of weight and someone says, look at that fat bastard, it's going to hurt me because I need to change something about myself that I'm not happy with, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll take that on board. And if it hurts, why did it hurt? And then a lot of the time it's like, okay, well, why aren't I loving it about myself? And it's either something you can do, or it's something where you've only seen the negatives of and you just need to see the positives. So like an example would be, my intelligence level at school. I was made to stand up in a classroom and made look like an idiot in front of my English teacher, who was like, "You're never going to fail. You're never going to pass this." Everyone's laughing at me, right? And I thought I'd passed the SAT thing, and he was like, everyone's laughing. And from that point, I then went into the library and I was like learning Excel, which is like spreadsheets and stuff. And then today, I use Excel for my investing. I've taught people how to build phenomenal spreadsheets. Yeah. So if you ask me now if that was a bad thing that happened in my classroom, it's absolutely not a bad thing. It was one of the best things that could happen, right? So it's just understanding how to see the good in what you don't love about yourself. Because there's always going to be equal reasons to love it and equal reasons to hate it.
No, definitely. And what's one thing what's your favourite body part?
My favourite body part?
Or it's all in the way you use it.
Yeah, right. My wife loves my hands, so I'd say my hands. Yeah. Because, obviously they're very useful.
Yeah. Glad to hear it. And so talking about money in relationships, I feel like that's a big thing, that it's a tricky subject to bring up, especially when you're about to get married. Do you believe in a shared bank account?
Yeah, I think it can hold its. I think it can be beneficial to have a shared bank account. As I say, I believe, it's definitely not traditional views I've got, but I think that it's important to see it's more important to see who's bringing the value and what you need to the relationship and appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, and then that will have a value. So it's like, I'll give you a real example. if someone's doing all the cleaning and cooking and looking after the kids and all that, what would it cost to replace that person? Right?
Yeah.
And that's a starting value, right?
Right.
Without going into the emotional value, right?
Jesus.
And then, what does it cost to, bring in an income of however much you're bringing in? And what would you have to do to go and is it worth it? And how much do you value that partner bringing that side of it in? And, you can actually get monetary value to a partnership.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. And I think not enough people do that, which is why 35% of divorces are financially related.
Wow.
So more people need to figure out, well, what value do I bring to this?
So then, do you
like a business?
So then, do you reckon a prenup is a great thing?
Yeah, or don't get married.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, prenup. Yeah. I guess I'm trying to think. For me, I just work at my relationship, and I know we're in a great place, and I also, it works the other way. So I understand that if we did ever split up, everything is 50-50 anyway, because we've made what we made because of being a partnership.
Yeah.
So there's no argument anyway.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a more grounded way to look at everything than go, well, I bought in this much money.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, how much would you have to have spent on your life if she wasn't there or he wasn't there? Not enough people do that. So.
Yeah. Have you heard of Paul Brunson?
No.
So he's like a love guru, and he said that finance and love are linked. A strong partner protects you from stress, therefore helping you to climb the corporate ladder. And that is what you believe in as well.
I just think that, going back to what I said earlier, it's just like if you want to evolve, you need to be able to live, and you need a stable, secure base, and that costs money.
Yeah.
And then to evolve into more creativity and more love, you just need to have more of that. You need to build on the foundation. So that costs money, unfortunately. Money is the only way that you can pay for anything and build a life. So if you find someone that helps you do that, then amazing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And to all the, obviously, like with the whole single parent idea now, do you think that's something that people should be doing, can be doing, or do you reckon it's important that to be successful you need a partner?
I think you need to be grounded and balanced, and I believe that you attract a partner that does that.
Yeah.
I think forget social media, what that tells you. I think just evolutionary, we are attracting people that balance us out.
Yeah.
To see the good in the bad and the bad in the good. I believe that. And when you find someone that does that, that's only going to be a strong thing for your survival of the fittest, right? It's like I said about the family thing. It's like one's an academic, one's empathetic and compassionate, one's, the money maker, one's the home, and you're built that way so that you stand the longest chance of survival as a human. So it starts with a partnership. So you're building these kind of like a tripod, that gives you a good grounding. And it's only a good thing. You try and do it on your own, you're either going to become too cocky in something and then you get humbled, or you're going to be depressed and end up killing yourself because you don't see the good in what you was doing. So partnerships there to support that.
And so going back to when you first found out that you were about to have a child at 22, did you say?
Yeah.
Well, what were your feelings?
Let's go to the abortion clinic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the first thing I said. I said, let's go.
And why? What happened?
It was like the worst news that I could have had.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough.
I tell my son this as well, and he gets it. He gets it. It's like I was in a place where I would never have felt ready. I felt like a failure that I was going to have a kid that young. I didn't have my shit together. I didn't even know if I was going to be a fireman or I was actually applying for the fire brigade, which was the last guess. But I just didn't have it together, and I just said, like, I can't have kids. But having said that, at the same time, my wife's sister had just got pregnant as well, right, with her boyfriend, and I was like, doom and gloom, like it was like the worst thing, right? And I said, look, just give me a bit of time and I'll get my head around, like, 'cause what I had to do is just think about what my life would be like and be real about it and get a realistic expectation about it. He was like, oh yeah, can't wait, taking football, get the thing, do the thing. And I was like, mate, you're a bit overly excited about it. I don't think you quite realise how this is going to affect your life. You're 22. Anyway, 5 months, 6 months it took me to really like, right, let's do this. I'm going to be the best, I'm going to be the best I can. And when my son was born, it was the best, like, honestly, it was the best thing that ever happened. I was a complete, like, I was well in it. You know, it was just everything, right? And I just swore I was going to be the best supportive dad that I could possibly be. And that's what I've tried to be to today. The other guy's gone. He was gone. He was like, fuck this, I'm out.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So just by not taking the time to, like, actually get real about what you're like, so you didn't have a big shock. And then he came along, he was out every night, and then they split up and he was just gone.
Wow. So. And do you believe it's just as much a man's choice as it is a woman's choice to give up the child?
Oh, I think it's
have an abortion.
I don't think the man, it's a tough one because a lot of that happens, it takes two to tango, doesn't it? Yeah. Right? But it's men have got it easy. You could just piss off. Yeah. And the woman will naturally, instinctively not be able to do that as well. So ultimately, it's the woman's choice because she is born because the woman says yes or no. But I wish people were more careful around that. Yeah. And so now with your sons, are you more on it with? Don't have kids. Yeah. Yeah, don't have kids. Safe sex. Yeah, just have. Oh God, the planet as well though. It's like, let's just sort the world out a little bit before we introduce more people. Well, yeah. Your head's not quite right. I just think with I think social media has caused a big rift in how everyone thinks, and I just don't think anyone's got their shit together. How can you bring a child into the world when you don't even know what you're doing? Yeah. So there's a lot of that, and I just say and financially, it's bloody ridiculously hard now. Yeah. So it's like, don't have kids until this is how much it will cost. Yeah. Trying to give them as much realistic expectation as possible, so they're like, oh yeah, fuck that. Yeah. And even like, if you have grandkids, don't bring it around because me and Mum are out now. Like we're going. You've done your job, yeah. We won't be looking after it, Fuck that. We've done ours. Yeah. No, literally. Yeah, I don't want screaming kids around me and all that. Oh no. I'm not a kid person. I have to say. So don't have them. And I hope that by the time that they do, they're sensible enough to be in a position where they. I don't think you're ever ready for the news, but I think they'll be. But it is funny though, then when we say that it enriches lives, having a child, I do believe that it's a massive, what's the word? Like, you should, because they bring amazing. Oh, as soon as I found out, I'd looked after myself more as soon as my first child was born. So I was an electrical engineer, and I used to like drill into like live buzz bar and stuff and it was really risky, right? But I was like, fuck, who cares, go down the pub at the weekend. That was probably about it. And then when he came along, it was like, right, I'm going to take a bit of extra care doing that. I don't want to hurt myself, because you're not living for you anymore, you're living for them. So it definitely gives you a new gratitude for life. Definitely. But then when you're saying you're not living for yourself anymore, you're living for them, is that not the same in a partner? No? When you find someone that you've actually fallen in love with and that you want them to do just as well as you are? Or is it not the same? I want my partner to grow with me, but I think you just want yourself served. I know this sounds, you're going to get some comments here, but you are asking what is in this for me every minute of the day, and that is why people either cheat
Yeah.
Because they're just not getting it. You know, they're not getting something from the relationship that they.
And so, what is it that
elsewhere.
you need?
For me,
yeah,
that's a really good question. I need someone who is the opposite of me, who pulls out of me, you know, who isn't a prude, who does look after and care for me or listen to me. Just someone who can serve the other side of what I'm shit at. And I think I serve the other side of what she's shit at. And that's the appreciation of the relationship. Yeah. And I think, like, we're so in love. Like, it's amazing. Yeah. Like, we've got such a great relationship.
That's amazing. And can I ask how you, if you don't want to, then that's okay. But how is it that after you did have a rocky stage, how is it that you're now back to where you were before? Or maybe stronger now and you're out the other end? How did you get that?
Just by, you can probably tell by now my thought process is quite, you know, it's very much just like asking myself, okay, what's the good that I've done here? What's the bad that I've done here? Can I change it? You know, is it something she's doing? Is it something I'm doing? And then being open about conversation around that, uncomfortable conversations that then lead to, oh yeah, you know, I can see how that was, why you was like that, or why you thought that, and I can see that I was a little bit doing this, being a dick, and you was being a bit of a dick, and you know, and you just work through it. And it's having that mature conversation and not going, oh, you know, row. We never row. Like, I've never. Again, it's that animalistic thing that I put down on survival. It's just like, there's no need to row. Like, I don't have road rage ever. I don't shout. I just don't see the point in fighting and clawing and scratching and
which is great.
Shouting, because it just solves nothing. So,
but then do you think that when you get to a certain age there's a level of, if you're not happy but you're comfortable, you should just stick it out? Or do you think that you can go find love?
I think if you get to a certain point in life, you probably can stick it out, and you're probably just not, you can't be asked to. I don't think you should ever feel like, oh, you know, might as well just stay with her or him. But if they're truly not serving you in some way, I don't think it's too late ever. But chances are, if you've been together a long period of time, it's just some conversation you got. You know, it's just something where you've got to be open and say, look, I want this. You know, how do you feel about it? And I think that openness is what builds upon equity in a relationship.
So if your wife came to you and said, look, I think we should have another partner in the bedroom. A yay or nay from you?
It's hard because she would never do that. Like she's very much like, she can only have sex with people she has feelings for as well, right? So she couldn't do that. She's a very jealous person as well. Okay. So if I said, yeah, sure, what's her name? She'd be like, her? And I'd be and that just wouldn't work very well. And again, for me, I don't think there's no need. Like, there's no need for that. You know, if you do need that, she's not doing something that you want. Like, there's something missing, right? So,
no, definitely. I just can't believe that growing up, so when you were 16, that you didn't have that sexual urge.
I did. Do you know what? I used to be interested in girls, and I've learned this about myself.
You're interested in guys now.
Obviously, yeah. No, I was interested in girls, but you know, looking back now, I think I was much more interested in, I don't know, just them wanting me. And I think that goes back to like my childhood of just being abandoned or perceived to be abandoned, where I just want acceptance. Like, I want people to want me and all that. And I used to play girls off when I was like 17, 18. I, you know, went around all the girls, not actually having sex or anything, but I liked the attention. And I'd lost a lot of weight, and you know, when I was 18, I was starting to look good, and I liked the attention. And I used to actually unhealthily play girls, you know, and then her friend and her friend's friend and all that kind of stuff. You know, what kids do, but it's a right little shit, I suppose. But I think it wasn't sex. It was just like, I want you to want me. It was weird, and I can appreciate that now. I totally admit that's what it was.
But then, is that something that you've found fulfillment in your relationship? Because people love the chase as well, and people love what they can't have, you know. But it's amazing that you've gone from that and then actually figured out yourself that, no, this is my issue, that I do have abandonment issues, but now I'm in a relationship and it's going to make me stronger.
Yeah, I think I've done a lot of work on you know, self-development and stuff, and I've realised, you know, that's what it is.
Hey, you sexy bunch. Thank you so much for your continued support on the Under the Sheets podcast. Did you know that only 10% of viewers actually subscribe to the show? It would be amazing if you could subscribe and do your thing, share it, to get the message out there and to educate more people. Thank you so much. Enjoy the show and keep talking dirty. Big love. We're going to go to audience questions now.
Great.
So we'll see if we have anything for you. This is the scary part because they're not proofread.
Even better.
Okay.
This is really open the book.
Yeah. If you could be any person in the world, who would it be and why?
If I could be any person in the world, who would it be and why? What, like a known celebrity, I suppose? Or just...
Yeah, or
just
your dad.
I'd be me.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd be me. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah, I don't believe in messing with realities. So just I'm perfect as I am. Everything that's happened is for a reason. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good. Wow. Being an Adonis, have you ever made a sex tape?
Oh, we have made sex tapes, yeah.
You have?
Yeah. We've got multiple GoPro cards that are scarily dotted all over my office, and every time we go to... Yeah, and my son's like, can I have an SD card? And I'm like, well, let me just check that one.
Wow! And then do you edit them?
We don't edit them, no. To be honest, it was like moments of like, had a few drinks on holiday and get the GoPros there, and it's like, oh... You know,
how fun!
Yeah, but they don't go anywhere else. You know.
Yeah. Until now.
Until I'm just flicking through previewing on my own computer, like in front of the family, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me zoom in. No, Jake.
Yeah.
When you were abstaining from sex, were you prepared to pleasure your partner to fulfill her needs?
Yeah.
Or was that part of it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was never like we didn't have sex, but it was very much one-sided.
Yeah.
You know, it was one-sided, and so we've always been at it.
Wow.
And always enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. Would you join the Mile High Club, or are you too shy?
No, I definitely would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done it? No.
No. I used to play a game in the toilet.
Is this with the doors open, or?
Well, basically, this is so weird. Yeah.
No, we love it. We want this. Yeah.
I used to, as a kid, when I say kid, I was probably 18, and I used to like go in for a piss, and I used to like unlock the door and count, and then lock it again whilst I was having a piss to see how many seconds I could get to before someone opened the door. And it was a good thrill, you know. They always used to go, oh, and I go, oh, sorry, and they're just like, yeah. So that's like the crying like exhibitionist coming out of me in the sky. But yeah, it's strange. Wow. But yeah, if I ever done like Mile High, I'd be in that toilet and I'd do the same game.
Yeah.
I'd just be like, right, 1, 2, it'd be over like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
No one would come in.
And any more locations than your office?
Cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just. I haven't never done like anything like cinema or anything like that. Just. Balconies.
You know what? I wish I could do it in a cinema. I don't know how people manage that one.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've done anything like mad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just my office.
Mm. Well. Yeah, I'll make a list and send it to
you.
All right. Did you consider your partner's wealth before you got together?
No, she had about £1,000 worth of parking tickets. So, just opened the thing one day, and it was like that film Dumb and Dumber. He just opens it and they just pour out. And I was like, what's that? And she was like, well, they're parking tickets. I was like, oh, great. So that was basically my intro. I sorted that out for her, and I was like, right, this is how it's going to go, you know. So I didn't consider it. I think you're wise to consider that sort of thing, though.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
But then the fact that with gold diggers and stuff like that, is that someone coming to you and just being like, oh, I've heard you got money, I'm gonna...
Yeah, but a lot of those situations, right, are people who are willing to go into that knowing that that's what they're providing to the relationship. I think, you know, a lot of like Hugh Hefner. You know, he knew he's not an attractive guy. Like he's got loads of money and he's got loads of 19-year-old women around. Like he knows why they're with him and serves him, right?
Yeah.
What's in it for him? That. What's in it for them? That. So
no, that's fair.
I think if you want to build something long term, you've got to be happy with that long term, and you probably won't be. So it's probably wiser to go, you know, let's meet somewhere in the middle, eh?
Yeah, no, definitely. And how do you feel about age gaps in relationships?
Yeah, age gaps. I think, again, for me, I'm a very emotional connection kind of guy. So I find it difficult to connect with someone who's, you know, much, much younger than me. I can't have the conversations that I can have with my wife because they just can't meet me where I'm at. Yeah. So I like to be able to meet people where they're at, and I think bigger the discrepancy there is just... Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
No, definitely. And lastly, any use of sex toys?
Yeah, actually, we tried the back in the day. Well, my wife loves sex toys. She's got a whole fucking drawer for them.
Really?
Yeah. She bought a job lot. But back in the day, we had these rings.
Oh yeah, cock
rubber
rings.
Yeah, but there's like 3 of them, so it's like triple intensity where you put one over the whole package, over the balls and the thing, right? So there's one big ring that goes around like everything.
Jesus. Yeah.
And then there's one that goes on the base, and then one that goes on the like helmet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I tell you what, like you pass out because all the blood's there. It's like you can't move, like, and don't get in the water like that because it'll just pull you to the bottom. It's like an anchor.
You'll be like though when you wind up the duck and it just goes.
yeah, exactly. So we used that for a while, but Jesus Christ, it was like not.
And so what's oh God, I want to see this drawer now.
Basically, it makes your penis about 10 foot long and about that fat, but if you've got enough blood to keep your mind going throughout the whole thing and don't fall asleep, good luck to you. But yeah, probably not the best.
Yeah, I've heard that if people are trying not to come, they do maths problems in their head, but you must be always thinking about training stuff.
No, I've never
had a problem with finishing too early.
Well, yeah, I've never. Do you know what? I've never thought about that. Like, I'd never think about that. It's just like,
that's great.
Just enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's better that way.
Yeah, no, 100%.
We've never had a problem. So well, there's been the odd one in the morning, you know, where it's like 2 pumps and a squirt kind of thing. Oversensitive, like you have a sleep.
You or her?
I'm a morning horny person.
Oh yeah.
So not a night.
God, thank goodness it's the afternoon.
So that's my knee.
Now I feel uncomfortable. That's so good.
Yeah, so in the morning it's always more sensitive than night, but yeah.
Well, on that note, I think we better call it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I do have a gift for you. I do have a personalised T-shirt that's in the colour blue.
Amazing.
But it says Dirty Talk.
Oh, lovely.
So
thank you very much.
Enjoy, no worries.
Cheers.
This is Jason, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So good. Smashed it.
Thank you.
If you want to be part of the show, whether it's on bed or as an audience member, please go to www.dirtytalkofficial.com and click Get Involved. Can't wait to see ya. Laugh about it. Give it to me, baby. Learn about it. Love it or hate it. Let's do it. Under the Sheets with Tatiana Ashbourne and friends.